You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Michael, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
Hey everybody, welcome back one more time to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. My name is Jordan Lowe.
I'm Cliff
Take two.
Ay. Okay, let's decide now the order.
This could be a fraught argument of who goes where.
I'll go third. I know
It doesn't matter to me. I don't care.
Always goes last.
Okay.
I was just kidding about take two. We don't do that.
Oh, cool. And I'm Seth.
It's raw and uncut, baby.
Ugh, it'll be fun to edit.
Cliff is dressed like a pirate tonight. If you are lucky enough to see the video,
That's right. Feeling my
it's not hard.
Halloween.
It only costs one gold doubloon to become a patron and watch the videos of our Zoom calls.
That's right.
Ooh.
Feeling pretty tropical over here.
So is the beach background with the pirate outfit, or are you using two apps here?
I'm using two filters, a virtual background as well as apparently Zoom has filters now, and I just discovered that.
Yeah, we could all be doing this, Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
We could all have Long John Silver's hats on.
And Michael got a webcam, so he's got a stationary visual from a very high angle.
It's kind of the view like if you see some guy peeing by a dumpster.
I was thinking a
that
7-Eleven about to get robbed, but
Yeah. Just remember this.
Like I said, I got a fixed camera, so nothing could happen.
was from the waist up. A good clean shot.
That's why it's so high. He was avoiding that crotch shot.
How you guys been this week?
Been a week.
Like riding a bike, you guys.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of birds outside today. I was telling Cliff earlier before you guys got here, there was like 1,000 birds up by our houses. It looked like I was in the movie The Birds. There was it was tons of them. What's that girl that lives with you, Cliff? Who's it?
Bree?
Cooper's. Yeah. She was like pulling in there, and I was waiting for one of them to
swoop
tell
down.
the other ones, "Come on, let's go," and just like swarm her.
All out.
I don't even think she noticed them, but there was a lot of birds. Anyway.
Hey, I had a note from our last episode when I got really excited about that new Father of the Bride 3 teaser. Right. Did anybody go any further with that? Because the next day I discovered, in fact, it was not a new movie.
Oh, it was a Zoom thing?
But it was a Zoom thing, and it's on YouTube, and it's called Father of the Bride 3-ish. It's about a half hour long.
This is supposed to be news. We're a news source.
Well,
we told them there was going to be a movie. Get excited.
Yeah, so in my excitement, I didn't realize, I didn't look into it any further. But I did discover, I watched the whole thing. Totally worth a watch. It's all the original cast, as well as a couple newcomers, playing a couple new roles in it. And, it was really good. It had a nice little script to it. It was put together well. And this one, Maddie is gonna get married. So, Kieran Culkin is back. And we even got a little bit of Franck in there at the end. I really enjoyed it. Probably the best of that type of thing I've seen so far. So you don't have to wait.
Cool. Hey, let's do a time travel thing. I read another book.
It's just a jump to the left. With your hands on your hips.
All right, here it is. It's called Time and Again by Jack Finney. Can you see it? I think it's from around 1970. It's pretty, I was looking at a lot of reviews to try to find actually, supposedly good time travel books. And this one is famous. Like, people love this guy for writing time travel stories. And I read it several weeks ago, and it's even Stephen King right here. This is the great time travel story according to Stephen King. I think that's probably what put me over the edge. Okay. Well, the concept first, I like to say what the concept of the time travel. The way they time travel in this is there's some sort of science to it, and they kind of make you believe that you're living in that time. The guy like goes and like lives in this little house or whatever, and just for a few days, and then finally when he goes out his door, he's there. He's in that time. It's weird. Basically what I would say about this book is for the first 300 pages, which is that's a lot of pages for the book to not be great. It's like he does a lot of explaining about what it looks like back then, because they're like in when they're putting up the Statue of Liberty. It's like, so 100 some years ago, and it's so what old timey New York looked like, and he's walking around describing it. And this is like the illustrated version or whatever, so it's showing pictures of back then, and it's just like you don't care. You just don't care. I don't know. And it just kept talking about that. It's very whimsical. It's definitely, that's the word to describe it. Just la-di-da, talking about things going on. After like 300 pages, though, an actual story happens. There's like the meat of the book where he's with this woman from that time, and there's some action and danger and how they affect what happened back then and all this. And the last, couple hundred pages are real exciting and good, and I enjoyed it. So at least it finished well, but you just have to get through the first 300 pages.
Only.
Anyway.
Yeah, I had a writing professor in college. Like the advice that stuck with me the longest was write your first draft and then cut like the first third of it. Because you always have a tendency to, I want to explain everything and I want to tell you all about my character and tell you about the setting. And you shouldn't do that. You should just jump into it. So it sounds like he should have cut the first like 9/10 of the book.
Well, Stephen King's telling him it's great. Anyway, so that was the one for this time.
That doesn't sound like it'd be a very good movie.
No.
Speaking of movies, let's speak about movies.
It's a pro.
Somebody has to be.
Save Martha! Puny God.
I'm just a kid from Brooklyn. I'm Batman.
Kneel before Zod! On the roof!
Said it yourself, bitch. We're the Guardians of the Galaxy.
So what's it gonna be, huh? Long sullen silence? Or mean comment? Go on.
You got me in a box here.
All right, we had some bad news, I guess, of Regal theaters closing down. They had just reopened just a few months earlier, and now 536 locations, all of them shut down, 7,000 screens, 40,000 plus employees, all shut down at the moment, less than 2 months after reopening. Every article I saw blamed No Time to Die, the James Bond movie, being pushed to 2021 as like the final straw. That was the last chance they had to, that there were going to be any movies open this year. And the guy in charge called it, quote, an increasingly challenging theatrical landscape. I think that's probably underselling it a little bit.
Right. No kidding.
So that's what, if you're local, that's the theater at our mall. Is a Regal.
Yeah. Do we have much confidence that theaters are ever going to actually reopen with real movies again?
Well, the Regal is the second largest chain in America. The largest one is AMC, and they came out and said they are not closing down. In July, they made a deal with Universal Pictures to shorten the time before something would go on demand. So it used to be if something had to be in the theaters at least 90 days before you could put it on demand, and they shortened it to just 17. So they made a deal to shorten that, and in return, AMC gets a cut of the theatrical revenue and the home revenue. So AMC and Universal are, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Mm-hmm.
And they have 5 Universal movies opening between now and Christmas. They're supposed to be like big budget, popcorn movies that AMC is going to stay open, and whether people can get out to it or not, or if they just stay home, they're gonna make some money at least. So somebody had the foresight to look ahead and kind of plan what the rest of this year was going to look like.
Yeah, I don't know the future of this. It seems really crazy, but they can't afford to stay open. Eventually, they're just not going to be able to do it, and because it's all about there not being movies. I mean, they're not going to give them movies to put out, and they were barely hanging on anyway.
Yeah, that was the
movie
talk
theaters
for
were
years.
in trouble. They were in trouble. And
it's how do we save our theaters? And this was I don't know if it's the last straw or not.
The only money they were making was concessions, and now people are trying to wear masks and go. It's like they're not like eating a bunch of food, so it's a mess. I mean, I don't really know. Part of me thinks it's going to be like such a niche thing to do, like these art house theaters. Like it's just more of a rare occurrence that you go to a movie, but then like, how do they stay open?
Yeah, how do you stay? Yeah, exactly. I had the thought the other day. I was thinking about that, and I thought, is this going to be how we get the drive-ins back? Are we going to start seeing drive-in movies again? I mean,
they're already doing that across I know California has a lot of more drive-in things, and recently because of this. It's just so crappy. It's like there's no quality. There's just no quality. And that's like, why? What's the point? Why go sit in your car and watch something when because nowadays we all have big screen TVs, and I mean, it's so much better experience at home. Why bother going to a drive-in?
I think a lot of it is, if the movie theater, the traditional theater closes, people just want to get out. Some people just want to get out. And,
I'm sure. I just don't think that's what they're going to go do.
I don't know. I mean, that might be an alternative that, existed in the past.
I agree. It's going to be there as an option, but there's not going to be a bunch of new movies on there. You're going to just be watching Groundhog Day, and that's just like we're getting at our theaters right now. You're going to be able to just see from any era. They'll just be like, oh, we're showing this now. We're showing that.
Yeah. How do you sustain movie budgets have gone up and up and up. How do you sustain these $200 million Marvel movies through, we're going to stream some, we're going to have a few drive-in. Like, you have to have that infrastructure or it doesn't work. So is this the return of like low budget, indie type movies? Are people going to start making things on a shoestring now? Who knows? But I just know the Regal, that takes up a whole lot of real estate at our mall. And if it's sitting there empty for months and months, that's got to hurt mall traffic. It's got to hurt all the stores in the mall, the restaurants.
Yeah. Well, that's a small segue to a movie I watched this week. It's called Jasper. I think it was just called Jasper. Let me make sure.
Small segues are better than no segues, so we're gonna take it.
It's called Jasper Mall. It's a documentary actually, but it was about a mall. I'm not even positive where it was. Alabama, I think. Just because I remember somebody was wearing a Roll Tide shirt in it, but it was very similar to just our mall. Dying malls. Our mall's actually holding up better than a lot of them, but it's just another dying mall that used to be something back in the day, in the 80s, when they were just everything. And it kind of follows this security guy, like maintenance guy around, and you see all the people. You get to learn about all the store owners in the mall, and just the struggle of them, trying to keep this place open, and what they're trying to get businesses there, what their anchor stores are. How they used to have a Sears and a Penny's and all this, and now now they only had a Belk now and stuff, and then they only had one place to eat and things, and they're trying to get somebody in there because the people that work there don't even have any place to eat, and it's just dying and dying. Plus, she's like, there's because like at our mall, people go there and walk and stuff. Well, there's people there that did that stuff, or these 4 old guys would sit there and play dominoes every day, and it's just like hearing. They all kind of gave little stories, everybody, just like how it used to be, and they would show pictures of like the parking lot from back then. It's just packed everywhere, back in the 80s when it was just like where you went. And now it's like, just imagine when we were kids going to the mall compared to what it is like going to the mall now. It's just like people were everywhere. That going to get a CD at the mall was like, you might as well crowd surf to go in there and get stuff sometimes. There's so many people in the mall. And now it's like nothing. It was a good doc as far as like just watching everything change, and at the end they kind of showed, they had some old video and pictures of that particular mall inside back in the day, and just crowds of people and stuff.
They have live birds and like we did.
Yeah, they were like different things, like, I remember those cages in our mall.
Oh yeah,
the
ducks
flying around and stuff. Yeah, the ducks, the little bridge over the ducks and stuff.
It was spectacular.
We sound like, we went to Woolworths for a malted.
No,
we went to the sock hop. Like
I did go to Woolworths.
It's a time going by.
Were you around for our Woolworths?
Oh yeah, but when we went to the mall, we went to J.C. Murphy's.
I don't know what that.
You don't remember Murphy's? It was one of the anchor stores.
I kind of recognize the name.
Yeah, and it was kind of like Woolworths. It had a lunch counter and everything.
That's I'm not getting it, but I believe you. I should remember that if you remember it.
So we have another good one for you, but first we want to tell you about Murphy's. Shop at Murphy's downtown for bargains during their inventory sale, which began today at 9 o'clock. They have sheets. You can save it 35 cents on full size and twin size. Pillowcases, 84 cents a pair. So visit Murphy's pattern department for first quality merchandise. Always shop Murphy's in downtown Beckley. Open till 5 o'clock today.
Now, was that
where was it?
That location that you're talking about for that store isn't that where like Dunham's is now? Like it was like a grocery type store at one point.
It was actually down, like, to access it. It was down one of the, remember how there used to be like more access? Yeah,
that's where like the movie theaters were on the little side things. It's where I saw Batman and things like,
Yeah, it was down one of the sides. I mean, it could be that store, just from a different angle, but it did have, gosh, if I remember correctly, it did have multiple entrances. It was a huge store. It was Sears, Penny's, and Murphy's were the anchor stores, and then you had like the Diamond store was another big one where, later became Lazarus.
I remember Lazarus.
Yeah, it became that after that.
Wow, man, I'd like to see a somebody do like a history on our mall. Just like that would be
I've
really
seen
interesting.
photos.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's has collected some photos of like the bird cages and the palm trees and the skylights and all that stuff.
Yeah,
because I mean, so many things you did back involved going to the mall, you know.
But I mean, what do you expect? The malls destroyed downtown, small town. Big box stores destroyed the mall. The internets are going to destroy big box stores. So it's the circle of capitalism.
Right.
For a little history lesson, J.C. Murphy was a chain of five and dime or variety stores in the United States from 1906 to 2002.
2002, wow.
Yeah.
Ironically, when this all dies, those birds are going to go back there and hang out.
They've just been waiting.
Yeah.
I mean, what other mall have you ever been to a mall that had free roaming ducks besides ours in the 80s? It was amazing. All the big fountains and the colored lights. I loved it.
I miss that stuff. I really do.
I do too.
I like malls. I love the
when they were
everything, KB toys and the what was the, you know, they all had a Walden books. They all had what were the, I know they would have FYE, but that wasn't the name of it. What were the old Record Town or something like that?
Yeah, we had Record Town. Yeah. Hickory Farms.
Yeah, come on. All kinds of good stuff. Go
Which
there
I can see that.
Got my ears pierced at the mall, you know. Everybody got their ears pierced and got your eyebrows waxed, right, Michael?
Maybe.
But like, yeah, as we get more digital and get everything shipped to our house with competent mailman, like we might strive for those kind of experiences, and you want to go somewhere and actually see a duck and actually see other human beings. So who knows?
Anyway,
well, I watched a documentary too. Pretty timely documentary on Amazon Prime called All In: The Fight for Democracy. So this was the one. It's basically a history of voter suppression in America. So this every review was either 1 star or 5 stars. So it was taken very partisan, which I'm not sure if it was or not, but it basically it focused on Stacey Abrams, the woman who lost the governor's race in Georgia. Was it 2018, I think? And a lot of that was blamed on some tricks that went on, people being purged from the voting rolls. And her opponent was the Secretary of State of Georgia, who is the person in charge of voting. So I don't know how you can run for election and also be in charge of an election and make all the rules for the election. That doesn't seem fair, but hey, who knows? So it's basically, it just kind of is a good history lesson and points out there has always been voter suppression. When the very first election ever took place in America, only 6% of people were eligible to vote. You had to be a white landowner. So the great experiment of America, democracy for all and freedom, still only 6% of the population was able to vote. So from those humble beginnings, we've gotten a little better. But there have always been the people in power don't want voting because it could cause problems for them. So, in the South, when the slaves were freed, oh dear, what if they all voted? that could cause problems for the people in power. When the railroads were being built, 100,000 Chinese people in California, that could be tricky if we let them decide who's in charge. Native Americans in North Dakota, when they all get settled over there. So yeah. So it's been a long history. It's not just a modern problem, and it's not just a Southern problem or a racial problem. It is, the people in power want to stay in power. And if they think there's a way to kind of have fewer people vote, that's always been an option for them. So, it just sort of laid out for me, like, the history of all this stuff and how we look at it in history books. with zero debate. We talk about, the Reconstruction in the South after the Civil War, and there were poll taxes where you had to pay money to vote, literacy tests, intimidation. People would stand by the ballots like, you don't really want to vote, do you? So, and we know exactly what that was and why it was done. And even at the time, they would say, well, the poll tax, voting's expensive. We got to pay for this somehow. Everyone should chip in. But, no one even bought it back then. So we certainly don't buy it now. But, the same stuff's happening today, and no one calls it for what it is. It's like we are in 100% agreement on what all that was 100 years ago. But the stuff going on today, we're still like, well, I don't know. It could be construed. But, so this just lays out all the stuff going on from maybe the most controversial, the voter ID laws, where talk about voter fraud and you have to have a picture ID to vote. The redistricting they do where they redraw and gerrymander all the districts to get the right people voting in the right places.
Jordan.
The way they purged the voter rolls where they can just say, if you haven't voted in a few years, we're just going to cut you off. So they just take away and don't even have to inform you in some places. Reducing the hours and closing polls and having long lines and making it more difficult to vote. Underfunding the elections, not training people properly, just making it a hassle, making it complicated, making it, a problem to vote. And to what's going on right now with the mail-in voting and demonizing it and calling it, bad for democracy somehow to vote. But so yeah, this is just a
small numbers of ballot boxes. You get only one ballot box per.
Yeah, there's places being sued right now, like some giant county in Texas that takes up hundreds of square miles only has one drop box. So yeah, this was it's only an hour and 45 minutes, but it's very clear-eyed. It's not hysterical. It just lays out kind of it does a nice job laying out the history, and then it shows what's going on today. So I don't know. It was very timely for me to have a refresher course in.
It's sickening. It makes you sick. Every time I see stuff about that, it just like, we're not the people that need to see it, and it is the problem. It's like, I don't know. We're so screwed. People that it's working for don't care.
That's what I don't even see it as a partisan issue. It's just I've always felt that way. If your ideas aren't good enough to get the most votes, you don't deserve to win. Like if you have to have fewer people vote because your ideas aren't popular enough, like get some better ideas. Don't make less people vote. I don't see how that's controversial, but
that's just it. They like their ideas better, so let's make the rules crappy and do all this stuff so our ideas get through, even though less people care about them. That's why it's been like this forever, because all that, the whole electoral college and all this stuff is like the minority gets to make the decisions because they make the rules and it just keeps going and going and going. It's like sickening.
Well, speaking of American, I watched a movie, segue, about the time Greg Heffley went to band camp, called American Pie, Girls Rules, just today.
I saw that on Netflix. I was like, are you serious? They made one of these.
Guys, we're all lacking something in the romance area. Yeah. Rule 1, fix our romantic lives. Rule number 2, we support our fellow women. And we won't let each other get away with our usual Welcome to the annual back to school party! Fresh meat. Am I right, ladies? Yeah. We're using the party gods to seduce a new guy.
Wow, you need to sacrifice a virgin or something?
No, don't worry, you're safe. The guy you might be looking for might be right under your oyster. I mean, it is a beautiful time to be alive, ladies. Am I right? Oh, God, yes. Ladies, please raise your glasses to the girls' rules.
Yes. Oh. Greg Heffley was the Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
He was indeed. But the actor that played Greg Heffley,
he's okay.
Zachary Gordon, is he's now in American Pie Girls Rules. So I needed a little something lighthearted today to get me through my workday after being depressed of everything else I watched this week. So Netflix provided me with the latest American Pie that I did not know existed, but it was in the top 10 of Netflix today. And
did you get some of that WAP?
You know,
it's a warm apple pie.
It's funny because that song wasn't in it, but there was some lyrics that mentioned that right from the get-go. So guys, they took American Pie and instead of having the 4 central male characters, they made them female.
It's girls. Oh,
it's
my
girls.
Gosh. Twist.
Insert Odin doesn't like a lady American Pie. Joke. But yeah, so
doesn't like a lady Stifler.
Yeah, so
that means Stifler, like, was there a Stifler dad?
No, but there was a Stifler girl. One of the central characters was a Stifler. Stephanie Stifler, in fact. And very much...
Man, nostalgia's gotten weird.
I know.
We're nostalgic for American Pie. Wow.
I will be the first to admit, when those movies came out, I liked them very much. I know they did not age well, but they did a nice job with this version of it. It was silly and crude and all those things you would imagine it would be, but it gave me a little bit of nostalgia towards the first 2 or 3 movies, and it was better than I thought it was going to be. I don't know if it was good enough, but it was better than I thought it was going to be. And so it's pretty much the same storyline. You have the 4 girls. They make a pact to lose their virginity instead of prom this time, because it's the beginning of the school year. They're going to have a morp dance, which is prom spelled backwards. And instead of getting dressed up, you wear your pajamas and stuff to the dance. So their homecoming dance is a morp dance, and that's their goal, is to all lose it before then. And it's good, not good enough, but better than you thought it was going to be. So
now, how long will it be before these morp dances start popping up everywhere?
It's got to already be a thing.
Morp? We had that when I was in high school.
Yeah, I hadn't heard or hadn't experienced that, but I just assumed it was already a thing. Also, by the way, there is a surprise cameo. The school janitor is played by Danny Trejo.
Yeah.
Who doesn't have, I don't think he had a line through the whole movie until like the credits. So I don't know what the purpose of him being there was, but he was in there. So.
All right. Sounds great.
It'll lighten the mood.
Hey, I heard a book was getting turned into a movie. So yes, I have another book in the same episode. A book that was hot on the list bestsellers was called The Chain. Here it is. The Chain by Adrian McKenty. And it's just like, feels very Dean Koontz, I guess. Just very like some crazy stuff's going on, and these people got to figure out how to get out of this situation. And very, I don't know, pulpy is the right word, but just like almost feels like trash novel. Like, I don't know. Anyway, the only reason I had any interest in it was because I heard that Edgar Wright had got involved to make the movie. He really wanted to make the movie. And I'm going to tell you the plot, and it didn't feel like an Edgar Wright movie, because It's not funny. It is not a funny book. The whole plot is this woman, her child gets kidnapped, and the chain is that then someone calls you and says, well, I've got your kid. Now you have to go kidnap someone else's kid, and then I'll get my kid back.
That's a very Black Mirror sort of
right.
thing.
And there's an overall person like making these people do this, and you just continue it. You have to blackmail the next person on down the line to get your kid back to it. And it's dark. It is a dark. I mean, you're talking about kidnapping kids, and it's like it wasn't bad. It had a very movie ending to it. It was just like very action-packed climax, whatever. But I kept thinking, like, how is Edgar Wright going to do this? Because it's not funny, But what he could make it funny. I could totally see this dark action. Then it started to like come together for me, thinking about the stuff he had done, and even Shaun of the Dead is dark and bloody, but it's funny as heck. So I could totally see him. I kind of hope that's what he's going to do with it, because I don't know how much fun this movie would be otherwise. Anyway, but I'm calling now. The person I pictured the whole time, even though I don't think she's ever even been in one of his movies, but it's that movie she was in of Macon Blair's a couple years ago. I don't belong in this world anymore or something. Melanie Linsky.
Mm-hmm.
I could totally see her as the main woman in this, and her being like, even if it like Simon Pegg could play her like brother character that helps her out. Just like I could see them being really funny together while some dark stuff is going on. So I'm calling it now. Melanie Linsky, Simon Pegg in this movie. The book wasn't bad. It was pretty trashy though.
And that Fleetwood Mac song playing over the credits.
Oh yeah. If they can afford it.
Okay, is that it for the movies?
Let's see. Yeah, that's all
We hadn't done a one job in a while, so we threw one of those out this week.
Ooh, true.
Hey, I have a question.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Talking about movies, like, are we talking like Netflix movies?
Yeah, I watched that movie on Netflix.
Sure. Yeah, one he just talked about was the Netflix movies. We talked about a couple prom.
I don't feel good for some reason. I'm like completely zoning out here, so I apologize. But have any of you guys checked out the Enola Holmes or whatever it is?
Is that a movie?
I watched that. Yeah.
It's really good.
Now, where to begin? My mother named me Enola, which backwards spells alone. And yet, we were always together. And it was wonderful. She was my whole world. Which leads me on to the second thing you need to know. A week ago, I awoke. Mother? To find that my mother was missing, and she did not return. I'm presently on the way to collect my brothers, Mycroft and Sherlock. Yes, Sherlock Holmes, the famous detective, my genius brother. He will have all the answers.
Enola. Where's your hat and your gloves?
Well, I have a hat, just makes my head itch. And I have no gloves.
My God. A wild woman brought up a wild child who will make her acceptable for society. She seems intelligent.
There are two paths you can take, Enola. Yours, or the path others choose for you.
We watched it as a family the other day. We were looking for that type of movie, and it was
Millie Bobby Brown.
Yes, surprisingly well done.
I don't know why I thought that was a series that they were on, but I guess.
And Henry Cavill as a very stiff Sherlock Holmes.
Very muscular Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Does he have a mustache?
No mustache. No. So
what a
waste. It was really good. It had what the heck is her name from all the Tim Burton movies?
Helena Bonham Carter?
Yes.
Yep. As the mother of the Holmeses.
Right. And Enola Holmes is Sherlock Holmes's younger sister. And after the mother disappears, she's left alone, and she goes out on an adventure rather than stay home and go to boarding school or finishing school.
Well, because we find out there's another Holmes brother that wants to make her a proper lady.
Right. And but Millie Bobby Brown I thought she was really good in it. I did enjoy it. It didn't feel cheap, lesser budget Netflix. It felt like they put some money into it. It had a really good script. The costume and everything, it felt it gave you the sense of the era it was supposed to be in with London and everything. And
it seemed like they had a lot of fun making this movie. Like the whole cast involved in it, it seemed like everyone was really into it.
It did seem that way.
It was very well acted, and even with her, like, supposedly she was 22, I guess, in the movie, but I mean, she came off acting more like a 14, 15-year-old, I would say. But I mean, the way that she was raised, she didn't know anything about the outside world, so that was like her introduction of trying to go find her mom and being naive and kind of getting taken for her, but also having the wits of Sherlock, where she could kind of outwit most people that she would come across that would try to do her harm. But I could see very well that it would open up the doors to like a series of these movies.
Yeah, I could too. And if nothing else, it proved that Millie Bobby Brown is capable of being a movie star, of holding her own and being the headliner right there. That's what I took away from it.
Well, it sounded like she was executive producer, or like she was the person that was behind making this movie. I know that. I can't remember what her exact title was, but she's the one that like had this idea and like brought it forth.
Was it like a PG family movie, or was it a dark, gritty reboot kind of thing?
It was a family movie. I mean, there's action scenes that there wasn't anything crazy about them.
I'll tell you what it kind of felt like to me. I know this isn't a movie, but it kind of felt like young Indiana Jones to me, the series from the 90s.
I can see that.
But it was very well produced and had a really good strong cast with it, and it was just fun. Like I could watch 2 or 3 of those, and but that's what it reminded me of, is a lot of like Indiana Jones, the young Indiana Jones Chronicles. So I liked it.
All right, so if we don't have any more movies...
Now, wait a minute. Now, go ahead. That's not it.
We could do a one job.
One job forever?
Look, I have one job on this lousy ship. It's stupid, but I'm gonna do it, okay?
You tossers! You had one job to do!
Jeff Goldblum has been trending all this week for some reason. I think it started with an unexpected visitor during a vice presidential debate. And then a photo came out, I think just today, of him on the set of the new Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm.
Looking suave in that
classic,
shirtless.
Yeah, that classic pose.
Yeah. All right, so we thought we would try to tackle Jeff Goldblum's one job, the one role that would define him, and then get rid of everything else. So only one survives. If one Jeff Goldblum role survives the apocalypse to tell future generations what Jeff Goldblum was, we have to pick it.
I feel like we kind of had a little bit of this discussion at some point, because I know that whatever it was sparked me to buy The Fly. Was Jared on once or something and we talked about it?
It's one of his favorite topics. He's very passionate about The Fly.
I know that I didn't actually buy Witness, but I did buy The Fly. And I did record and watch Witness though after He went on one of his things.
Did you check the journal to make sure we hadn't done this before?
That's a good question. I've got it handy. Let's see here. I don't know. Anyway, we I honestly, I'm kind of scared.
Well, if we can't remember, the listeners aren't going to remember.
Yeah, they don't know.
Yeah, right.
All right, so we threw it out as a poll, one of the many, many perks you get for being a patron. Had a few votes. Let's see. Jared obviously voted for The Fly. Jesse, a first vote thrown out for Jurassic Park, Ian Malcolm. And then Justin voted for... I just had to throw an option for just being all Jeff Goldblum 24/7. Just living that Jeff Goldblum life is what he should be known for.
Keeping it real.
What other options were there?
Let's see here.
There was Earth Girls Are Easy. Was that an option?
Yeah. They don't put them in. I enter them in chronologically, but they don't leave them there. So I start with Nashville. He was the tricycle man in the Robert Altman movie, where it's a huge cast of characters, and it's one of his first roles. I don't even know if he has a line in it, but he just rides around on like this giant 3-wheeled motorcycle, and you just see him in the background, and he's just Jeff Goldblum and dressed like the 70s, riding a motorcycle, and he's amazing. Buckaroo Banzai as New Jersey, the cowboy.
Scientists at the Strategic Space Command have detected a mysterious radioactive cloud-like mass over southern New England. Senate sources close to the National Security Consortium have refused to comment.
All right, let's get on back to 3 great modern country hits in a row.
Sydney. Buckaroo. How's the patient? Oh, fine. He's doing fine, thanks to you. But more importantly, congratulations. You drove through a mountain. I did. You drove right through a mountain the other day. You did it right after you left me with the operation. You hadn't even said anything about it. Didn't even mention you were going to do
Sydney,
it.
These are my friends. This is my colleague, Dr. Sidney Zweibel, old medical friend from Columbia PNS.
Howdy do.
Listen, Sydney, I'm glad you could make it because it looks like we may need an extra hand sooner than I thought.
Aha, I see. An extra hand. Yeah, that's what I was wondering about. I mean, I got your message about rendezvousing at this address. Barely had time to pack my saddlebags. Then I came here and
I can see that. Well, I'm going to snoop around. Make yourself at home.
Okay. I thought we were going to rehearse or something. I'm a big fan of all you guys. I love the comic books and the records. I know you. You're Pecos.
Perfect Tom.
Perfect Tommy. I'm sorry. You're Pecos.
Pecos in Tibet. Name's Reno.
Reno. It's an honor. Where do you hail from, Doc? New Jersey. Fort Lee.
Where are your spurs at?
Portlandia. He was a recurring character on there. I kind of put that in to fill in for all his sort of sketch comedy or, online videos, shorts that he does. Earth Girls Are Easy. Thor Ragnarok as the Grandmaster. Independence Day, David Levinson. The Big Chill, probably his breakout role, I would think.
I love that movie.
Yeah, it's good.
Grand Budapest Hotel, and all the many films in that from that director. So yeah, those were the ones in the poll. And there's always an other. You can always write in a vote. So Jesse said he'd never seen The Fly, but could understand arguments for it, but can't tell us how many times he's quoted Ian Malcolm. So he had to give Jurassic Park the vote. I'm right there with you.
How do you know they're all female? Whether somebody go out in the park and pull up the dinosaur skirts?
We control their chromosomes. It's really not that difficult. All vertebrate embryos are inherently female anyway. They just require an extra hormone given at the right developmental stage to make them male. We simply deny them that.
Deny them that?
John, the kind of control you're attempting is, it's not possible. Listen, if there's one thing the history of evolution has taught us, it's that life will not be contained. Life breaks free, it expands to new territories, and it crashes through barriers painfully, maybe even dangerously, but, there it is.
There it is.
You're implying that a group composed entirely of female animals will breed?
No, I'm simply saying that life finds a way.
Justin said it's extremely difficult for him not to vote for Earth Girls. So I'm not sure why he didn't. It was his right as a patron.
That's how you vote twice. You get you vote your vote, and then you also say what was hard not to vote.
And then Jared wrote an essay about why he picked The Fly.
Again, it was a very well put, and it made me get The Fly Blu-ray out that I had bought and set it out. And I was gonna watch it today, and I didn't have time.
Maybe it was one of our horror movie discussions or something.
I don't know.
I do feel like
just random. It was probably just a random Jeff Goldblum discussion.
Yeah, I do feel like he went on like some sort of diatribe about.
I remember him talking about it, and I was like, "Yeah, that is really good." It's been a long. I mean, I've seen it a couple times, but it has been a minute, and so I thought I would watch it again for this, but I didn't have time. I don't know that
he says Jeff Goldblum is always great in everything, but he's of the opinion Seth Brundle in The Fly is one of the great underrated bits of acting in history. They don't give awards for messed up horror genre flicks, but if they did, he'd have won them all. He really plays about 7 different roles in this one. And there's a spoiler alert for what happens in The Fly. But, he starts as a nerdy scientist, then he becomes the insecure, in love, lovey-dovey guy, then he becomes a roided up alpha jerk, then the scared, lonely, dying guy, then the quippy, accepting his fate, half-fly guy, then the super creepy, dangerous insect guy, and then the full-on covered head-to-toe makeup Brundlefly. So he says, it is really something. Plus the insect politics scene with Gina Davis, which he was kind enough to include a YouTube clip.
I came to tell you. I wanted to see you before.
You have to leave now. And never come back here. Have you ever heard of insect politics? Neither have I. Insects don't have politics. They're very brutal. No compassion. No compromise. We can't trust the insect. I'd like to become the first insect politician. You see, I'd like to, but, I'm afraid,
I don't know what you're trying to say.
I'm saying, I'm an insect who dreamt he was a man and loved it. But now the dream is over and the insect is awake.
No, Seth.
I'm saying, I'll hurt you if you stay.
Is one of the most chilling things.
I think we were talking about Gina Davis.
That is what it is. Thank God. I knew there was. I knew we had talked.
There's the connection.
Great job, everybody. We're done.
He called that one scene one of the most chilling things I've ever seen, and a far cry from his lovable goofball characters he usually plays. Which that's what he's best known for, is the quirky guy. But yeah, The Fly is a total departure from that.
Do you guys remember Transylvania 65000?
I don't know that one.
Really?
It sounds familiar.
I never saw it, but I know what it is.
That's a classic.
You're a big horror guy, Michael. How do you feel about The Fly?
Honestly, man, I haven't watched it since I was a little kid. It makes me want to go back and actually watch it with adult eyes to see how intense it is. But I remember thinking it was awesome when I watched it as a kid. The effects at the time were pretty cool, and just the concept of trying to create a teleporter.
Mm-hmm.
it was
Yeah,
crazy.
I don't think I've seen it for many years either. I remember the pods.
Yeah.
And I remember like him being all gross and like throwing up. That image is like burned into my brain somewhere, how gross that was. But yeah,
I'm gonna make Nick watch it here soon.
And it works on that level as when you watched it as a kid in the 80s, the gross out horror level. And then I think as an adult, you might see something different about aging and disease and decay. And,
I think it's a great performance. It's as far as what he can do, that is a great vehicle, that movie.
It's in my top 10, but I don't know if it's my one job. Because, like I said, it's not his typical. He's not being very Jeff Goldblum-y in it.
Yeah, and I think that might be my problem. Like, I think he's excellent in that movie, but I think it might just be.
He's not doing what he's known for.
Yeah, he's being too much. He's too good at that character, and there's not enough Jeff Goldblum shining through.
And I'm not sure. You might be able to say the same thing about Jurassic Park, couldn't you? Like. He's like such a cool, like he's a mathematician. He's like wearing leather pants. Like, how do you make a mathematician like the coolest guy in the room? Well, he did it. So like, I don't know, but he's not. I don't know. It's in some ways it's like the prototypical Jeff Goldblum, and in other ways it's kind of a whole different thing.
Have any of you guys seen Thank God It's Friday? It's from.
Are you just looking for random Jeff Goldblum movies over there?
Pretty much. It's from 1978, and it's like a disco club, and he's actually very Jeff Goldblum-y in it because he's like trying to get these chicks to come into the disco with them, and he's like got this. I think he has a Corvette, and he's trying to be all ultra cool, but he's like coming off super nerdy.
Yeah, I don't what's. Let me ask, what's the example then for what you would call prototypical Jeff Goldblum? What?
I don't know. Like, I almost want to say just him on any talk show ever.
Yeah, because when I think what you think of as Jeff Goldblum, it's just Jeff Goldblum.
Right. What you see in like the Disney Plus show.
Yeah.
Or any time he's on Conan or the Tonight Show. Like it's almost gotten to become a shtick. Like those, 10, 15 years ago when he was on Conan, it was some of the funniest things you'd ever seen.
Yeah. What was that? You were just scatting there for a second.
That's, of course, Thelonious Monk's great tune, Straight No Chaser. That's me. I came to this town, was not to chase it around. I came to get straight, I had to get straight, I had no time to wait. You know the lyrics to that? There are lyrics to that.
Wow, incredible.
Thank you.
Incredible. You strike me as a guy that always has music playing in your head. Whenever I see you, you're smiling and you sort of drift around. And there's a happy little musical going on in your head at all times. Is that true?
Yes, it is.
You're such a happy guy.
I am. Look at you. You look spectacular.
What's happening?
What do you mean?
Married guy.
I don't mean in that way.
You meant I just look good? How do I look?
Well, you look thin as a rail. You look absolutely wonderful.
This is incredible. Thank you.
Your sideburns have grown a little longer, I think, haven't they?
Yeah, they have.
Your hair is doing something absolutely wonderful.
Look at that. You know what? There are some days when the hair has something's going on with the hair. I don't know what it is.
Is today a day?
I don't even know anymore.
It's beautiful. It's so high and absolutely beautiful. And look at that.
Now you're touching me. Look
at that. Look at that.
What's happening?
Interesting. And look at that. And that's a very festive tie.
Yeah, thank you. Well, this is.
Yeah.
They just put this on me before it's a clip-on.
But now it's become like, oh, Jeff Goldblum's so hilarious. Do something weird. Touch my finger, or what? He just like Conan just like pushes him. Here, put on a funny hat and say something weird. Like, so it's not as natural as it was. But yeah. I don't know. He would just sit down and say something very philosophical, or just he'd be talking and be like, "Wow, those lights are straight." Like he would just go on a whole weird tangent, and it was amazing TV to just in that moment. Yeah. And I will always remember something Conan said years and years ago, where he was complimenting him about his acting, and he said, "You know, the eye goes to Goldblum. So he was talking about like if there's a cast of characters, you always see, no matter what he's doing, the eye goes to Goldblum, and that's something else I think of all the time. Anytime I see him, he's always interesting. There's the Woody Allen movie, Annie Hall. It was one of his first movies, and he has one line in it. He was an unknown actor. It was just like a party scene, and I rewatched it a couple years ago. I did that 100 movie thing. I was like, I don't know how well, the Woody Allen stuff, he's been canceled. I don't know how well this is going to hold up. And literally the only line that made me laugh in the whole movie was Jeff Goldblum's line. As a complete unknown actor with one line in a movie. So there is just something special about him in anything he does, whatever kind of role it is. So it's hard to pick. Jurassic Park's probably his best known, most quoted, most memeable sort of thing. But yeah, like the Thor, that's Ragnarok's kind of would be his modern iteration of.
Yeah, that's pretty Jeff Goldblum-y.
Yeah.
On a side note, his first starring role was in 1974 Death Wish as Freak Number 1.
Freak Number 1.
Tricycle Man was his third role.
And he does not like he'll do like he'll do voices on cartoons. He'll do guest spots on Adult Swim type shows or Funny or Die type stuff. So he seems to be up for anything. His Disney Plus show is fun. He just goes out and walks around, talks to people. So I don't know. He's an interesting character. But I am having a hard time kind of nailing down one role here.
Well, it's not a contest for me. I'm trying to think though. Probably the only movie in my top 100 that I released was Jurassic Park. I'm looking there. I don't say.
And if we say Ian Malcolm, you get all the sequels he's in.
Exactly.
So, I don't know how much they're worth.
I have quoted that character a bazillion times. I'm like Jesse. There's probably very few characters I've quoted more than that one. I've said that's one big pile of shit, like a million zillion times. It just, we must go faster. We must go faster. He was just perfect through the whole movie, and perfect in a perfect movie is my sweet spot. And I don't want to change that movie for nothing. So, one big vote for Jurassic Park.
I would be fine with Jurassic Park, yeah.
I do enjoy the Disney Plus series a lot, but some episodes I do feel like he's a little too into it. Like it feels like he's trying really hard sometimes to be that guy.
He's outliving it.
Yeah. So yeah, my initial thought, I think The Fly is very good. I think that is that is something that I don't know that if they redid it today, they could make a better version of that movie than they did in the 80s. But for me, I think it is Jurassic Park.
Well, we didn't have a consensus from our patrons, so they normally get a vote as a block. So they kind of split the vote. So, Michael, did you have a dissenting opinion, or are you with us on Jurassic Park?
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
We got a sure. So
I was gonna say, the Buckaroo Banzai, because that was, to me, that was my first introduction to him being Jeff Goldblum or whatever. Just the way he comes on as part of that group as the newcomer, and how he's like kind of bumbling his way through it.
I mean, it's fine. There's most things he's pretty good in, but I'm trying to think of the iconic something that is important to me. It doesn't have to. I don't want. I've never wanted this to be what is their iconic role as much as what is Ka-Pow's iconic choice of that. I just feel that's just too.
Michael, this is the beauty of one job, is it we don't all have to vote for the same thing. And trust me, I've been the one that hasn't voted for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, if there's something you feel like stands out, then that's what you want to vote for.
Freak 1 is your jam.
Freak number 1.
It's a good thing Jeff Goldblum wasn't in Space Camp, or Cliff would have voted.
That's true. Are we sure he wasn't in that?
He might have been. He played an alien. Okay, so in the annals of history, Dr. Ian Malcolm.
See, the Tyrannosaur doesn't obey any set patterns or park schedules. It's the essence of chaos.
I'm still not clear on chaos.
It simply deals with predictability in complex systems. The shorthand is the butterfly effect. A butterfly can flap its wings and be king, and in Central Park you get rain instead of sunshine.
Why?
And then I go too fast. I did a flyby. No, give me that big glass of water. We're going to conduct an experiment. It should be still. The car's bouncing up and down, but that's okay. It's just an example. Now, put your hand flat like a hieroglyphic. Now, let's say a drop of water falls in your hand. Which way is the drop going to roll off? Of which finger, or over the thumb, or the other side?
Thumb. That's it.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, now freeze your hand. Don't move. I'm going to do the same thing. Start with the same place again. Which way is going to roll off?
Let's say back. Same way.
Same back. It changed. Why? Because tiny variations, the orientation of the hairs on your hands.
Yeah, look at this.
The amount of blood distending your vessels, imperfections in the skin.
Imperfections in the skin?
Microscopic. And never repeat and vastly affect the outcome. That's fun.
Unpredictability.
Right?
It will be on Jeff Goldblum's tombstone.
I'm okay with that. That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm with it.
How long is this episode went?
1 hour.
1 hour.
Should we just wrap it up there and call it a night?
I'm okay with that.
Let's do it.
All right. I hope you got something out of that. I hope you enjoyed.
Now imagine Jeff Goldblum delivering that line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got something out of that.
All right. So yeah, that was fun.
Yeah,
we'll get back to you shortly with some other stuff to talk about. So just tune on into the same place some other time, and we'll be there for you. My name's Jordan Lowe.
I'm Cliff Barnes.
I'm the illustrious Michael K. Easton.
And
I'm sorry.
I'm Seth. Bye forever. We're back, baby.
Take 3. Let's start over again.
We'll do it all
Whole
over
thing.
again.
Great job, everybody.
Ka-Pow, the Pop Cultured Podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udamwithkpp.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a comment. Ka-Pow, the Pop Cultured Podcast, is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found. You can connect with us through social media on Facebook, YouTube, at the Ka-Pow Podcast on Twitter, or email the show, Ka-Pow, the Pop Cultured Podcast, @gmail.com. If you really want to go the extra mile, please sign up to be a patron through the Podbean app or our website, www.udamwithkpp.com, to receive special content and early access to some episodes. We are grateful to anyone that chooses to contribute, but please know that most of our content will always remain free, so please continue to like, comment, and share.